what is a bad teacher?
Give me some specifics that they do in the classroom that triggers in your head, like they're really not a good teacher.
Teachers who don't teach.
So what does that look like? When a teacher's not teaching, what's the classroom look like?
They just do what they want. They talk. She'll put an assignment on the board, and nobody will do it. And she sits on her computer, and like we're not learning anything the whole year. But when we take a test, they expect us to get a good grade when she's not teaching.
Anybody else?
I saw a couple with some hands raised. What y'all about to say?
Go ahead.
That don't actually go up on the board and teach, but want to give you all kind of activities to do within, like, I think that's good sometimes, but all the time we need to somebody sit there and actually teach us materials that give us all kind of worksheets and activities.
So you want somebody to be in front of you giving notes and
That's how I learn better that way.
Okay. What about you?
I feel like a teacher should be confident in what they're teaching. Like, for instance, one of my teachers, she teaches us, but then she like pauses and just stares at us. We're like, okay.
Anybody else? What's a bad teacher?
I think a bad teacher is someone who only tries to entertain most of the group and leaves out anybody with a different interest. For example, in one of my English language arts classes I've had for this year and last year, of the same teacher, but in not the same class. When they're only trying to entertain a few people by making everybody watch a video that entertains people who are interested in that, but leaves out anybody who, like me, for example, doesn't really like that, but is more interested in talking about politics or something, something different than normal. We're going to talk about this drama that we've talked about 100 times.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I think a bad teacher is a teacher that doesn't know how to be a good teacher.
All right. So what's that mean?
Just yelling, just rude.
Yelling for no reason?
Yeah. Be yelling for stupid stuff.
What's some good? That's what I want to know. What do you guys consider petty things that teacher overreact over?
Sit with your
Gum.
friends. They already know you're gonna sit with your friends. They should expect that. I mean, if you know how to manage it and behave like a high school dude, they should let you sit with your friends. Not, don't sit with them, don't sit with them.
Okay. Well, you know the issue sometimes that when you sit with your friends, you're not very productive. So what could you do if a teacher has that approach, what could you do to offset it if you want to sit with your friends to be able to do work?
Be responsible.
You could be responsible. Okay.
Be courteous.
Okay. Anybody else?
You could sit with a friend that you know is good in a particular subject.
Okay. I like that.
Buddy pair.
A buddy pair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. One question. How do you learn best? What makes you learn?
A PowerPoint.
Hands-on.
PowerPoint. Okay, so we're talking about some type of visual with notes in the PowerPoint? Okay. What if I did a PowerPoint every day?
No, not at all.
That's not gonna work.
No,
That's not gonna work.
that wouldn't.
It works, but I like hands-on work because I think it helped me learn faster. Yeah.
Can you give me an example, maybe of some hands-on work?
Creating a cell for a science class,
Creating a what?
like a cell structure or cell model.
Oh, okay. Anybody else?
Me personally, I like doing different things every day. Like, I don't like just going in the classroom knowing what we're gonna do. Like
Give me an example.
Like one day we could do a hands-on project. Next day we can learn out of the book. Next day we could do a PowerPoint. I don't like just going in the classroom knowing what's gonna happen. Like in my one class, we sit there and work out the book all of the time, and he expects us to just learn out the book. He'll get up and start reading out of the book like we didn't already read it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I learn better. I learn different subjects. Say with math, I would like to do activities and hands-on stuff, but versus like a history class, I need somebody to drill this stuff in my head so I can get it.
So as students, do you understand, just like Cam said, understand your strengths and weaknesses as a student? Do you know that I'm good in this subject, but I'm not good in this subject?
Yes.
How many of you have expressed that to your teacher that, this is not my thing, so I may need, because this is not my subject, I may need these types of things to help me with this subject, because this one I'm not going to get as fast.
Anybody want to comment on that?
how to even get help.
Yeah, I'm good in it, but like I need that extra just to like secure my information.
Gotcha.
Well, one thing you have to do as a student is advocate for yourself. So if it is something that you don't know, just like Ms. Johnson said, then you have to understand your strengths and your weaknesses. So if you can't move that fast, guess what you need to do? You need to go to that teacher and you need to talk to them individually and say, I need some additional assistance. Anybody agree with that?
Yes.
That's what you're gonna have to do when you go to, college.
But like, what if you have some teachers that like, say like, well, let me see, say like, you have a teacher that you think can help you in some of your classes that you're studying or something like that. And you go ask them like, well, do you think you can help me during a certain period during the day? Whatever he says he don't know, whatever like that. And then, well, you still come to see him, and he like, well, I don't have time like that. Like, how do you actually find time? Well, what I'm saying is, how do you actually find time during a day to help catch up doing something?
During the school day, so you don't have do you have somebody to pick you up if you stay out of school, or do you have somebody to bring you here in the morning? You just got to rely on the bus.
The bus.
So your question is, how do I get it during the day? Because you don't have the opportunity for morning or night.
What do y'all think you should do?
Yeah.
You can go during activities.
What if your teacher's not approachable?
Yeah.
What if you are, as soon as you go up and you ask for additional assistance, they're like, well, you should have did it at home. Or you should have did it,
That's an example of a bad teacher.
Yeah.
that would be an example of a bad teacher.
I'm pretty sure there's other teachers that teach the same subject that would be willing to help.
When I was
Yeah,
in
but they
math
won't
too,
let you go during academics.
when I was in math too, I had 5 teachers. And I failed the LCTs when I'm in a situation, I'm taking a graduation test. And this is my second time taking it. So,
Anybody else want to comment?
I feel like if you go to the teacher with a better approach, like if you talk to them like with respect, they'll probably help you.
Go ahead, because I was about to ask you, what if that doesn't work?
That they'll probably help you then, because some teachers, they just want you to act different when you're talking to them, like, or act different in their class.
Any other comments?
How do you guys feel about like asking questions? Because I'm a math teacher. For me, we have steps in math. So how many of you, the second you don't get a step, raise your hand then? Or do you wait till the assignment is given and then you're like, oh, I don't understand how you did number 5?
I keep trying to step, like I would start over. And if I can't get on like the 5th try, I just ask the teacher.
Okay. You're present.
I usually raise my hand immediately, only because I usually don't have to ask very much, so it's much easier for me since I only have to ask it once versus being someone that's got to ask it 8 or 9 times to still don't get it.
Okay. Question for you: since is that in all your in all your subjects, you pretty much kind of get everything. You don't have to ask many questions.
Except for Latin and language arts.
Latin and language arts. All right. So, is it the teacher the reason why you don't get those subjects, or is just that's?
I don't really. No matter who's teaching, I don't really get either of the subjects. Since
Okay.
I'm not. I like science, social studies, and math.
So because you're interested in those come easy to you.
Yes.
So because you're not interested in Latin and you said language arts,
Yeah.
what do you do, or what can those teachers do to keep you engaged so that you do better because you're more interested?
What would help is to talk about more things that pertain to the other subjects and stop like trying to make it completely different, but try to engage those subjects more. Like, for example, in ELA, make us write a essay instead of on some random movie we watched. Make us write something on what's going on in the government or something in science or.
So letting kids choose the topic they want to write, but
Yes.
still being graded on the proper information, proper grammar, proper technique, and all that
Yes.
stuff.
Some teachers still don't even help you. Like, when you learn the thing, you ask a question, they're like, wait till I'm done. And then when they're done, you ask a question, they still don't help you.
So what does that do for you as a student? How does that change, or does it change your attitude or your motivation in class?
I can just get up. I don't try it. I still try it, but like, I just don't try it as much as they think I would.
Or when you ask them a question and they just keep getting annoyed and you're just like, well, how you should have been listening. And it's like, maybe I didn't get it the first time.
Right.
So that means that you are less likely to ask them 2 or maybe 3 times, right? Which means that your grades are gonna go down, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Me personally, I don't like when students ask like right after the first step because I feel like they block out like the rest and then they just focus on that one thing and they think like you can get it, you can just listen but if you don't get it at the end, then you can ask the question.
I get that, but you know, everybody learns differently. So it may be that the person that doesn't get it right after that first step, they really need that clarification because in their brain, they can't move on versus yourself, you may be able to move on. You gotta think about that.
So
'Cause
that's-
everybody
right.
learns what? Differently.
So that's where, as a teacher, the differentiated instruction, where you might be able to just move on. If you're one of those kids that you can just get something real quick, she can go ahead and tell you the next step and then come back to so-and-so and say, okay, let's talk about this first step while the rest of the class is moving on to the 3rd and 4th step.
Would that work for you if a teacher did something like that?
How do you all feel about like groups? How y'all feel about group work?
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Okay, you
They
don't,
like they
okay.
slack a
In
lot.
between.
They do what a lot?
Most of the time I'm in a group, I'm the one who has to do all the work because they're like, oh, well,
here.
she gets good grades, so she's gonna do it. And then if like, I just sit there and be like, no, I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna get the bad grade.
All right, Kelly, you said you don't like group work, so I'll come back to you.
I don't like group work because the same thing she said, I wind up having to do most of the work, no matter who I'm with. And like, I'm the one who buys the papers and all, like, it's just annoying because nobody else wants to put in, but everybody wants a grade.
Gotcha. And what were you about to say?
I was gonna say something close to what she said is when we get in a group, a lot of people that really slack off will go to the people that know they're gonna do the work because they know they can pass off that work also as their own, and unless the person that's gonna get a good grade is going to leave something in their hands and it's not gonna fall through. Because I tend to do is I'll set aside something for all of my partners to do, but I'll have my own backup, and when they can't produce their own, I'll turn it in as my own and to kick them off.
So for those of you who don't like the group work, would it help for you to let your teacher know, can you put me in a group that, because if you 3 were in a group together, then the 3 of you would work together because you all feel the same way about group work.
Yes.
So if you share that with your teacher,